Greetings and welcome to this episode of Everyday Enchantment. I'm your host, Stacey, and today I have the pleasure of bringing Jen Violi into this amazing space so that we can chat about all things connected and related to the elements and and I can't not say it, our animate world. So there you go, all the living, breathing energy of this planet. How do we connect more fully, more intentionally? That's the kind of stuff that Jen and I are going to talk about today. And for those of you who do not know Jen, Jen is a writer, an author, a writing coach, a mentor, facilitator of these elemental writing courses, as well as just a midwife of magic. That's what I know her as. So we will dive into that when she joins us in a minute. Welcome. Did I capture? Sometimes I feel like I know you so well that it's like capturing all the magic that is Jen Violi is like hard to do in a succinct sentence.
You captured it beautifully, and I am
Awesome.
grateful.
So let me ask you, because I have been a participant of one of your elemental writing courses and it was amazing. You started with water and I was like, you had me at the W. You didn't even have to finish the rest of the word. But I want to know, and I'm sure listeners want to know, like what drew you to the elements and using them kind of as a muse for getting creatives, writers. I don't even think you have to necessarily be a writer to be drawn to these programs. So you can tell me what you think about that, but that's just my gut feeling.
Yeah, no, I think that's true. Writing is part of the title, right? Elemental writing. And you don't have to be like a writer, you
Yeah.
don't have to be officially something. You just have to be a person who, loves to use words and
Yeah.
wants to engage with words as connected to the animate landscape, to say that like stories are alive just as much as trees are alive or we are alive.
I love that. So what made you start with water? Because you started with water and now you're in the earth container. Is there like, how do you connect to what you want to bring forward in the world? What do you do as a creative to channel that kind of intuitive, oh, this is where we're going to go first?
Yeah. Well, water was an easy start because I'm, fully a water baby. Like I'm a Scorpio
Mhm.
and water is just home for me. It's where
Mhm.
I can relax, where I can connect. Like I get my best ideas in the shower or in the tub, like when I'm in a
Ditto.
body of water, floating, swimming, whatever, I just, it just feels like home.
What do you find when people are using the elements to kind of come back in to their own connection? What have you discovered by offering these programs just for yourself or for the participants? What are you noticing?
Oh, all kinds of things. I mean, it was so interesting because the last Earth class was just last night, and
Oh, okay.
it was just beautiful. And, one of the participants and I were just kind of reflecting on, like, she was also in the water class.
Okay.
And so we were sort of talking about how, water was just this easy entry for us and how Earth
Mm.
is a little like, I'm curious, but I'm not sure how connected
Mhm.
I feel and how surprised we both were, at the end of this experience, like how deeply held we felt by Earth
Mm.
and how engaged with it. So it's just, I don't know, it just feels like it feels like coming home with each of these. Like I felt held by Earth in ways that I didn't expect to. Like especially, we did a week on dry land, on desert,
Wow.
and I wasn't, some of the other weeks I was like, oh yeah, I get where we're going here. But the
Mhm.
desert was just sort of like all of these unexpected gifts of,
Wow.
and I don't know. So I'm just like, I'm kind of all over the place because it's just so there, it's abundant is how it feels to me. And the way that it can
Mhm.
connect with writing. So like last night we were talking about shape. That was the theme.
Mm.
And so for starters, we explored the shape of ourselves. We did like a guided meditation at the beginning, just exploring the shape of our bodies inside and out. And then we got into mountains, canyons, valleys, caves, and talking about how that connects with the writing process. And it's amazing how interacting with a mountain and looking at, how a mountain is formed, plate tectonic activity,
Yeah. Take me right back to fourth grade science.
Right. Because I'm not a scientist, but like I am
me neither.
a lover of the earth, and to say, oh, that makes so much sense when two big forces come together, smash together, something like a mountain rises up. And what can that show us in writing about plot, conflict, tension, and what comes out of it?
Yes. And to me, what I hear, what I sense too is just life in general, when two big forces, right, are coming together in our own personal lives, or maybe it's you and another person and coming together. Sometimes you're creating something beautiful like a mountain, maybe sometimes it creates something else. But this relationship, I don't know, this is how I always take it. When we drive around, like let's just say you go for a drive to the grocery store, most people are not looking out their window thinking about, right, whatever they're seeing, the trees, the road, all of these things that, to your point, are living and breathing and want to me, communicate with us, want to be in relationship with us. And to me, whether you're a writer or not, it's like this conversation with Mother Nature, and it can be overwhelming, right? So where do you start? If you chose an element, if you said, okay, I'm just going to spend the next month, every time I drive, noticing the element of water wherever I go, or noticing the element of earth or air, whatever, whichever you would choose, and just notice, like, what do I see? What do I feel? What am I experiencing? Because to me, what you do, Jen, is like you birth us back home to ourselves. That to me is one of your superpowers, right? And so whether it's through writing, whether it's through these experiences with Mother Nature, to me, she's like one of the best conduits, not condiments, on the planet. Maybe she's a condiment, but I meant conduit for our own awakening, our own just coming back into a present moment, right? And just being alive again, remembering we're alive with bodies and feelings and heavy, like mountain heaviness. Like I'm just imagining myself in that class and how I would experience it. And it's such a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. I love it. So where are you going next, my friend, after Earth? What element is calling? What's calling you?
Well, I was telling the participants last night in class that I've been like cheating on Earth a little bit with air, because air is what's coming next.
Okay.
In the fall. So that'll start, I think it's September 19th. And then
okay. And we will share, if anybody is like, yes, I want to be part of this magic, we will share all your links in the show notes and at the end of the show too, where people can find you. Do you find that water and earth, like, is there a layering? Because to me, sometimes when I'm out in nature, like, again, I don't necessarily like put an element in what, unless I have a specific intention, they're all talking to me.
Right.
So how do then you overlap what you're learning about your relationship with water, your relationship with earth, with air? Like, how does that expand? I don't know whether it's our voice, whether it's just, again, who we are on the planet. Maybe it's not even, it goes beyond being a writer, but just absolutely like, hey, this helps inform like my sole purpose here. I don't know. What do you think?
It does. And I think, part of it is finding, experiencing, identifying the connections between the elements is just another way to remember ourselves in relationship. So like in every one of these classes so far, like with earth, like there's a moment where I talk about earth's friendship with water, earth's friendship with fire. Like one of the classes we talked about fire ecology and how that can renew earth. And
beautiful
so, all of the elements are in relationship. There's friendship. So like same when we get to air, we're going to have a whole week on mist and fog and that connection with water, So I think it's another reminder of connection, I guess, is my.
What do you feel? I always think, right, there's people that say, I'm not creative or I can't write. What's your take on somebody who says, oh, that's not, I don't have that capacity or I don't have that skill? What do you say? Because I believe everybody, right? We're all in relationship with words on this planet. We might do it differently, but my feeling is we're all writers and communicators and speakers in variety of different ways.
Yeah. No, I agree. We're all creative. We're naturally creative. We're part
Yeah.
of a giant ball of creation and an ongoing creative cycle. And
Yeah.
I think, so many of us get alienated from that by
Mhm.
systems, by culture, by, people trying to like put you into a box instead
Yeah.
of, the wide open expansiveness that's true about each of us. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more, and there's something very freeing about, like, starting with a prompt, right? A lot of times, to me, an open page or blank page can be completely overwhelming depending on where I am in my own headspace, but a prompt is like it's like the key in, like, cracks the door open, and
Yes.
I love to see if you just start with, like, 5 words that, and then you're just gonna go. I think whether you call yourself a writer, whether you have a regular practice, it's
Mhm.
a beautiful thing to see what wants to come through. I write things, I'm like, "Oh, I didn't even know that was in me." I don't know about you. Your words always are such balm to my soul because one of the things, and I would love to know how you kind of how you kind of approach this, but it's you have the ability to touch humanity in such a realness and authenticity, and at the same time, you hold the sacred like, there's a sacredness to it, and I don't know exactly, it's just again, another one of your superpowers, how you hold those 2 things, like, really messy truth, human shit, so to speak, and that but it's also sacred, and when I read something, it's like, again, it just becomes another portal back into that remembering for me. So I don't know if you want to share anything about how you operate as a creative, but it is magnificent to be a part of.
Wow, thank you. That's a beautiful compliment. I'll take that
Yeah.
in. Yeah, I mean, so much comes up when you talk about portals, and everything for me is a portal. There's like this
Mm.
beautiful, like Clarissa Pinkola Estes. I think you and I have talked about her
Mhm.
work before, Women Who Run with the Wolves, and all kinds of other magic. She has this beautiful poem called Abre la Puerta, and Open the Door, and talks about how like everything is a door. And
Mm.
that's kind of how I feel too. Pain is a door, laughter is a door, writing prompts are doors. The pain in
Wow.
my elbow is a door. Tears are a door.
Wow.
And maybe it also connects with when you say, like, well, what's your creative process? It's letting everything be a door. And
Mm.
it's also cultivating a sense of wonder, like
Yeah.
allowing myself to be constantly amazed and like to intersect with the, title of your podcast, Everyday Enchantment.
Yeah.
My deep belief is that magic isn't something that is like out there, separate, whatever. Like when we fully allow the wonder of each moment, each
Mhm.
interaction, each plant, each, flower, whatever,
Yeah.
we allow for the magic to be there. There's so much magic.
I couldn't agree more. And I think it's interesting. I love this whole door concept, because I think for so much, either we are afraid to open certain doors, right? And so maybe we stifle the connection to that enchantment or magic or to ourselves or again to this world that just wants to be to me, I can't even imagine a world that is in I can't even say that word, but we know what I mean. Like it does not have life, does not have energy. Everything. Like I find even like I talk to the desk and the microphone and I'm just like, welcome. I'm excited for us to create whatever we're going to create today,
Mhm.
right? Whatever shape or form matter is taking, everything becomes a miracle to me in a way that it isn't complacency, but absolutely. I love how you touched on this. Like, if you open to awe and wonder, how could you not be like, just how is all like sitting here today? I'm on one coast, you're on another coast, and here we
It's
are.
amazing.
The portal of the internet and all the things allowing for this type of conversation to even happen. And I think most of us, at least I know for me, I was on autopilot for a long time in my life, and I had all the doors closed. I was in a room with because I was afraid. And I think that again, this is just now I have this question. It's like, does somebody who does feel those doors inviting them in or to open and is afraid, how do we cross the threshold of allowing the portal, of opening the door? I don't know. I'm curious what you think.
Yeah, well, I think one of the biggest lies and illusions, like, and actually probably violence to people, is to say like you have to do it alone. That is just
Mm,
like, oh, you just have to like get up enough willpower and just walk through that door. Rugged
yeah.
individualism, like, do it for
Yes.
yourself, like whatever. I think the way through is to remember the connectedness and to do it with people.
Yeah.
To like walk through the door with someone else. You don't have to just walk through the door by yourself. You don't have to like self care. What about community care? Like
That's a
let's
really
go
good point.
through together. And that's why like you don't have to take a class. I mean, you could a class with other people in the class.
Sure.
One way to do that. But then there are people probably around you like that you could engage in that with and invite someone to do something with you that probably would feel like a gift for them too.
That's a really good point. And I feel that, I don't know, it's just a shifting of the planet, that we are really moving toward collaborative community, not the way that, again, in the paradigms that we've already created that don't work, but something brand new. And all of us being able to bring our gifts in a way that the community benefits. We all get this beautiful reciprocal gift, right? Of being able to share and receive,
Yeah.
which again, the receiving part to me is the big practice. And I love how you say that, because it reminds me of something years ago. Somebody said, like, what's your dream team look like? Right? Like, what is the team around you or the people around you that really help you, nurture you, support you? And I think for me, again, and I'm sure this came out of my childhood trauma, like I was like, I just got to do it myself, right? Like that was a belief I had for so long. I can't trust anybody else. And so I just have to do it. And so, like, even writing for me and reading was like a very solitary act. And then I would go out into Mother Nature, right? And she felt safe. That felt like a safe place to be held. And
Mhm.
then I had to really kind of learn that I could be in a trusting relationship. I could create that vulnerability in a container. And who is it that I actually, want to invite in ways that, like you said, we don't have to do it alone. And I think especially, um, that I like that concept that you touched on, that rugged individualism, because that message is like, you should be independent, you should be able to do it, you shouldn't need anybody. And yet the world, I don't think, is going to benefit from that belief system any longer. It needs to go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely. Woo! Juicy, juicy, juicy. So what if you has anything been like emerging in your own writing lately? Are you noticing trends or just things that are coming through the different portals? I'm so curious. Like what's exciting you? What's causing you wonder and awe just as a being walking the planet right now?
Yeah, I mean, some of it is like definitely in my own writer's cave right now that's sort of not
Mm,
ready for articulation, but
sure.
some things are happening there, engaging with these elements and reconnecting me to myself to work on the memoir that I set aside due to illness and grief and
Mhm.
a couple of years of like going through the ringer, and
Yeah.
now coming back to it through these elements feels really good. So like that feels like a gentle way back in.
I love that, because I think so often people might start something. And then, I mean, I've started something, as you know, because you were my writing coach. And And I just hit a wall at some point, and I kept trying to force it. And you were like, Stace, maybe, maybe not. And I remember my husband at the time, he's like, maybe that isn't meant right now to be completely birthed out into the world. And I think for a long time, and I'm not saying that you were thinking this, but I thought, wow, I failed, right? I didn't do it to take it all the way. And I remember somebody else saying to me, like, well, what if whatever you did do was perfect in that moment? Right. And if it's meant to come into some other form, you'll feel that. You'll feel that nudge to come back to it. And I think, again, when we start to trust ourselves and we start to be in communion, community with all of the elements, then there's a season for certain things too, right? The seasons kind of overlay onto the elements as well, too. And you'll feel it again, or you'll get something new that adds to where you've already been in a way that there isn't this like failure, not failure, complete, incomplete. It's
Mhm.
like it's its own journey on its own path. You're just the, yeah, again, you're the midwife, you're the birther, and hey, it didn't want to come out
Yeah.
that particular time. I think a lot of people are holding on to things like that. Maybe I'm wrong about that. That maybe
I
that's
don't
just my
no,
opinion.
I don't think you're wrong. And I think the other thing is how much we're conditioned by capitalism
Yeah.
in terms of needing a product.
Yeah.
Like I just did a big piece of writing about this that was really like a big, I don't know, like spiritual, like a process for me coming to understand my work in the world. And like I titled it, I'm Not a Commodity. And
Mm.
realizing, that I felt some shame or some whatever about, oh, I don't really like other people have a product to
Mm.
offer. Really, what I offer is a process. And
Yeah.
I think process is like underrelated or that's not the word I wanted, undervalued, underestimated, those words.
Absolutely.
And we get stuck on this idea that if you don't have like something to show for it, if you don't have a book, if you don't have something that you can
Mhm.
sell, then it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
But what if the process is the thing that matters most?
absolutely. And I also even think like, what if it's just you? And I don't mean just like that, but like it's Jen, right? You are the thing. You don't need to create something outside of yourself to but you're right, it goes against, right, everything that we've been trained to believe about how we're supposed to operate in the world.
Yeah.
It reminds me of years ago, I was in front of somebody who was doing, I don't know, if it was a reading, whatever. I was having something, and she said, Stacey, if I could wave a magic wand and give you three wishes, what would it be? And so I'm thinking about what that answer would be. And she goes, wait, scrap it. She goes, I want you to stop thinking that the wand is outside of you, right? The thing is outside of you. She goes, you are the wand. So it's not like, hey, you have to, right? Like, and that's how, as soon as you started saying that, Jen, I was like, yeah, you are the wand, right? You are the process. You are all of the magic. And to try to like commoditize that, I don't even know if that's a word, out into something, it doesn't, it diminish, it just can't, it just cannot be the thing. And so I love this. I love this conversation because how do we, did you have thoughts on how do we expand our perception and perspectives on how we look at things and how we exchange energy, right? To me everything's always just an exchange or a taking or a giving or that kind of thing. How do we, and I don't know if you know the answer, I'm not if you don't have an answer, but I'm just curious since you were writing about it, what do you offer? I'm so interested to know.
Like, how do we practice not being
A
not
commodity, yeah, yeah, do you have and again, I don't mean to put you on the spot because then we can all just go off and think about that because it's a
sure.
beautiful big question.
Well, I think a lot of it for me is slowing down in a moment,
Mm,
because say like for instance, when I feel like, oh, I have to rush and I have to get dinner done,
yeah,
made, like I can tell, my partner and I were both like hungry, hangry,
yeah,
whatever, that I got to just do this. And some of it, he's helped me by offering like, what if in those moments we just like actually ate something? Like if you're too hungry to like make dinner, like have a snack first and
Yeah,
then relax and make the dinner,
I
So
love that.
I think it's that to say, like it's not just about finishing this because otherwise what's the point? Like I don't want to be like rushing through my whole life, burning
Mhm,
myself out, trying to like get to these end points, get to these
mhm.
products. I want to enjoy.
Yeah,
And, the biggest way that I can do that is when if I remember to pause.
I love that. And I think then there's the portal, the doorway, right, into something very intentional.
Mm.
And I think also too, then everything around you gets to talk, your partner's sharing something, everything gets to offer you something in that moment if we're willing to slow down and take the pause. And I think, and there's where you find like the enchantment, right? Like, let's have it. I'm like, last night we're having the same conversation in my house because I didn't feel well and I had a dinner planned and then it just kind of went out the window. And I was like, what are we going to do? And so you're right. It's like, why not just take a pause? Why not have a snack and then regroup? Why it wasn't, but it's so funny because when you're in all of that constriction of that rushing and that kind of frantic energy, I never find my wisdom or my enchantments hanging out in that space. It's like, nope. And so I love just, again, it's like driving and looking out the window. It's like, just hang out for a minute and see what's here. Maybe there's 3 doorways that want to open or have ideas for us in that space that we could equally play with and have fun.
Totally.
Oh, I love, love, love. All right, my beautiful friend. Well, I could talk to you forever because
No,
again, just
me too.
creatives and all of it, just our whole meshing. So I want to say, if you don't know Jen, absolutely find her. I don't know if your stuff on Facebook is public, but your writing is incredible. However, I do know that you can go over to her Patreon, and again, what I also believe is what do I want to say is supporting artists, right? This idea of a starving artist and all of this stuff that artists are just supposed to be putting everything out there. No, artists make the world, to me, enchanting. So why wouldn't we want them to have a beautiful supported life and not feel like they're having to, scrape together things? So get on Patreon and support not only Jen, other artists, wherever artists are, whether they're doing work. I was just went to like a local little show. I tried to buy as much art as I could while I was like, I just want to support people making and creating and doing things that are just adding to the beauty of the world. So I will say your Patreon, or however I'm probably saying that wrong, is Initiation Station. So that's a beautiful place where you can get access to your work and your writing and then your offerings. And then this like the next elemental course, tell us what do you have a date or not yet?
Yeah, so I think it's September 19th. It's
Okay.
that Monday of that week.
Okay.
Um,
Sweetness.
and registration's going to open up next week. And
Mm.
so, if you follow me on Instagram, like you'll see some posts there, but really like just sign up for my love letter list
Okay.
and I'll be sending out information there. So you can do that via my website, which I think you have the link for too. So
Yes, and it's down on the bottom of the screen, but I will put all of this out there as well too, so people can super easy to get connected to you. And I just, again, I want to say that even if you aren't a writer, so many times I've taken a program and I've thought, oh, I'm gonna get some result, right? Like there's a destination in mind. Whether it was like when I signed up to become a life coach, I was like, oh, I'm going to become a life coach. I'm going to have this designation. And then I realized, like, if that never happened, I got so much for my own, like my own evolution of who I am. It didn't even matter. And I say the same with your courses. It's like, if you want to be in relationship with yourself, you want to be curious and be in that pause and see what comes through, not just through you, but like what Mother Nature wants to share with you, which I always say she's the best life coach on the planet. So you get a upfront close seat to her through a program like one of the ones you're offering. That I just think it's a beautiful thing, whether or not you come away with something specific. I find the less intention I have, like, I just want to slow down and listen. And it's like, then I sign up for these programs and like my world gets rocked in the best way. So that is what I will say about your program and so many artists, right, that are out there doing incredible work to help us shift the planet. Like, art is going to be to me, one of our easier conduits to how we're actually going to live in a different place. And I don't know, hopefully I'm around to see it, but I know that in the future, I really, really believe like we now in this space are doing a lot of the heavy lifting.
Yeah.
But just being here and being in it and doing what we feel called to do. So Jen, that was a long way to say thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. This is just a joy. And I feel like I could just, we could talk for a few more hours.
We could totally. And for whatever reason, we must be getting a storm because all of a sudden it's getting dark in here on my side. So anyway, thank you, Jen. And it has been such a pleasure. That's it for now, loves. Thank you for tuning into this episode. Get all the juicy details and links we've mentioned in the show notes. If learning more about how you can use your own enchantment to live a oh hell yes life, come get your own coaching session with me by going to staceyandon.com and signing up for my homepage. And as always, come chat with me about this topic and all things enchantment in my Facebook group, Everyday Enchantment. See you on the flip side.